This is Everything's Messy podcast. Here we are, the very first episode of our relaunch. I'm so excited. I want to first say thank you to everyone who listened to our trailer. I've been getting some really good feedback, and I hope to just expound upon what was said in the trailer and, get into that stuff. This is really exciting. The inspiration for this podcast is really just to talk about the mess of our lives, right? But mess doesn't necessarily need to be seen in a bad way. It just is messy. And the way that we come through that, the way that we shine through that, the way that we find our strength through that, how it is different for everyone. And so that's kind of what my inspiration and my hope is for this podcast, to really get into that. Because who doesn't have a mess? And again, it doesn't have to be uh, a bad connotation, but look at planning a wedding. Even planning a wedding, as joyous and wonderful as it might be, it's messy. And so whatever you might be going through, whatever your life may look like, it's all kind of messy. And I want to get into that, right? So let's talk a little bit first about the hiatus. I think I had mentioned in the trailer that we started in 2019. It was my husband and I, and we just wanted to do sort of a back and forth fun thing, and it just didn't really have a direction. So now we've kind of come full circle, and it's going to be me flying solo with a ton of interviews. So you won't just have to hear my voice. And sometimes I will have my husband on because he does have a good insight and perspective to offer. And we just have a different kind of direction. He is very much behind the scenes and very supportive. So I'm grateful to that. And we're just going to kind of take it in a different light. So part of the reason for the hiatus is in 2019, we started talking about moving out of state, and it was very, very heavy on my husband's heart to leave Southern California. But our plan was flawed, as I think a lot of times when you try and make a plan, there's a lot of things that you don't see coming. And we ended up moving to Colorado, but he had to still stay behind because he didn't have a job yet to go to Colorado. So he was still employed in California. Long story short, which I make it sound short, but it was very long. After 2 years, there was just, it didn't work. He couldn't find work. He didn't want to leave the job that he was currently at. That's really hard. He's belonged to this organization for over 23 years, and you don't find loyalty like that anymore. And you don't have a lot of people that can say they've been at a job that long. There's nothing wrong with moving around and getting better and finding other things, but he is very loyal to this organization and this job and the career that it has provided for him. So just walking away to something less than was not an option. He really had to find something that would fit, and it just wasn't meant to be, and we didn't find it. So now we are back in Southern California. And again, you can imagine the mess of moving out of state and then moving again. Kudos to all of the military families who do it, quite seamlessly every 2-4 years, whatever the station brings you. I've moved a lot in my life, a lot. It makes you not nostalgic or sentimental to things. You don't keep a lot. You learn to pack lightly because you never know when you're moving again. And I did not come from a military family, but I moved a lot, and I moved a lot as an adult as well. And so I'm no stranger to it, but I will say every time it doesn't get any easier. It's very messy, and each time brings its own set of problems. So again, that was part of the hiatus. Of course, we had the pandemic that nobody wants to talk about. We just had a lot on our plate. I feel like we've sort of turned a corner, and I'm ready to explore this podcast and what we can do for others, helping them, supporting them, listening to your pain points and your stories. And I hope that we can laugh through it as well, because if you don't have a sense of humor in life, it's going to be really hard. We have to be able to laugh not only at ourselves, but the situation. And that doesn't mean I'm taking lightly to what the seriousness of any situation might be, right? And that's through everything. We have to look at relationships as loving and wonderful as they can be, some maybe not, but either way they're complicated. They are very, very complicated, and messy. And that's just, to me, that's the tip of the iceberg, and we'll get into that. So the other part of the hiatus has been my journey with health. And I'm speaking to everybody, but to a lot of women who take on the stress of the family, who take on the everyday stress of, just having to go through life. And I'm not saying that men do not, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just speaking as a woman because I am one. I am a type 1 diabetic on an insulin pump. I was diagnosed when I was 15 by a horse kicked me, and they rushed me to the hospital where they checked my blood sugar on the hospital glucometer. And it was so high, it wouldn't even give a number. And that means that it was somewhere north of 400, which it had been for a very long time. So by divine intervention, this horse was, meant to save my life in a weird way. But, going forward, that was a lot to deal with as a teenager. I was not receptive to it at first. I was very rebellious. It's something I did not take seriously. And I am, suffering some of those consequences now. I had a heart attack 6 days before I turned 43 years old. And the heart attack was not due to high blood pressure. It was not due to high cholesterol. It was strictly due to high blood sugar and stress. And I cannot stress enough, nice word usage, how much stress does affect the body. And if you don't have a good outlet to get rid of that stress or to work through it, you are only hurting your own body in ways that you can't even imagine. Just talking about the inflammation alone when it comes to cortisol and stress, the body needs to go into recovery. It needs to sleep. It needs to de-stress. And if we are constantly in survival mode, and if we are constantly on, we are never giving our bodies a chance to recover. And that is just, you have to find whatever works for you to recover. Praying, meditation, journal writing, whatever you can do. My outlet has become exercise and yoga. And a lot of people kind of turn their nose up at yoga. But one of the things that I have found in yoga is it forces me to breathe. Now, I know that sounds funny because we all breathe, it's an involuntary muscle, and we just do it on our own. But it is the way in which we breathe that sort of brings in life to the organs and calming ourselves, calming our circulatory systems, calming our respiratory systems, calming all of the systems with just nice, slow, deep breaths. But for me, and I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm a slow learner. Other people that are my friends can keep their comments to themselves as far as how stubborn I am and what I don't know how to do. But breathing the correct way and the right way that helped me de-stress, I had no idea how to do. And so that was something I really had to take seriously and learn and apply it. And along with exercise, which again, exercise in any form is fantastic. But the best exercise that I have found is, yes, you need the cardio, but more importantly is the weightlifting, especially for women. There are proteins that are released in our muscles when we start to build muscle that actually help the ends of our DNAs. I forget the term, but it's the tips of the DNA cells that grow, and it actually helps them get longer, which means you get longevity. And there's studies done a lot, and I'll get more into that as we go along with this podcast and more specific and be able to quote the research. But there are studies done that show just building lean muscle in very small amounts adds such longevity to your life. And it helps every organ you can possibly think of in your body. And that is so important. And there's some other things that I've done. I believe very much in grounding. Again, my friends can laugh. That's okay. I know I'm crazy. I own it. But grounding, just putting your bare feet on the ground, and there's this electron, energy charge thing that happens. And there again is scientific evidence that backs us up on why it's good for our bodies to do that. And I will get into all of this later on in the episode. So I'm just trying to give a recap of the things that caused the hiatus and what I'm doing now. Um, and then back to diet, right? And I don't mean going on a diet just to lose weight. I mean, what are we putting into our bodies that is good for our bodies? Now, when I had my heart attack, they told me, okay, you need to go into cardiac rehabilitation. There were two options. One was the standard rehabilitation where you go into an office 2 days a week. I think they have you on the incumbent bike or the treadmill. They check your vitals and okay, that's great. Are you eating well at home? Okay, good. And off you go. The second choice for me was something called the Ornish program. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, Dr. Ornish is a famous doctor who created this program that is very vegan related. Now, I am not going after any vegans. I respect whatever your decision is to eat. And I'm certainly not a doctor, and I'm not telling you what to do in that regard. I am just telling you what worked and didn't work for me. And what didn't work for me was a vegan diet. And on this Ornish program, they promoted soy, lentils, beans, legumes, all of these things that were not good for me. Soy alone, the tofu alone, all of the seed oils that are in that, my body had such a bad inflammation response to. And it made me so severely anemic that they were considering blood transfusion. That's how severely anemic I was because I wasn't getting any red meat. Now, yes, you can take an iron supplement, and I was on an iron supplement, but it wasn't enough. And let's talk about supplements. They are there to supplement what you are getting in your diet. You still need to be having that bioavailable nutrients that you get from food. Again, these are all things that I learned. So, fast forward to where I am now, and I am very, very carnivore diet pro. And here's a couple of reasons. I have seen the changes in my own body by doing the carnivore diet. Now, what that looks like is, yes, a lot of red meat, but it's the kind of red meat that you're eating. Grass fed, grass finished is the best for you. It's the most bioavailable for you. I also now eat organ meat, liver, heart, spleen, kidneys. All of those things are so nutrient dense, and the proteins and the amino acids and the things that you can get from those things, your body needs. It is craving, and it's very, very hard. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very hard to make up those specific things that you get in those meats by doing plant-based. I'm not saying you can't, but from what I understand, and again, when we get into more diet related episodes, I will produce the research that I have done. But from what I understand, you have to eat copious amounts. We're talking pounds of amounts of plant-based things to equal just 6 to 8 ounces of organ meat and red meat that you get the bionutrients from. So that to me was a big, big eye opener. And since I've gone carnivore, my blood pressure has come down. Now, again, I didn't have high blood pressure, but it has come down even more. I have energy that I've never ever experienced. And my diet looks I say it's a diet, it's a way of life. It is how I eat. So I have the grass-fed, grass-finished bison, venison, steak, ground beef, whatever I can find, along with the organ meats. Now there's a great product, and I get no royalties from this, but there's a great product called Ancestral Blend, and what they've done is they grind up the organ meats and package it with the bison and the venison. So when you cook it like ground meat, you don't even know that you're eating the organ meats. And it's been fantastic. My kids eat it. They love it. They have no idea that there's heart and spleen and kidneys in there. And it's so good for you. And in one, I want to say in one serving, which is 4 ounces, you get over 24 grams of protein, which is just amazing because it's so, so good for you, along with all of the other benefits that you get from eating those things. Eggs are probably the most superfood you can eat. It has everything that you need to eat. Now, I know there's a lot of people, oh, I don't eat the yolk, it has high cholesterol. Let me tell you something about cholesterol. It has been said for years that cholesterol is the enemy. We can't have cholesterol. I am here to tell you, and there is several outlets out there that back this up. And again, I will produce the research when we do more diet related episodes. Cholesterol is actually something our body needs. There's actually a film that the cholesterol makes over our brain cells that keeps us from getting dementia and Alzheimer's. Okay. That's super important. What our bodies don't need, and this is where I think the mixed message comes from, is the processed laden foods that are full of preservatives. So when you think of something that's high in cholesterol, like an egg, for example, that is the good cholesterol for your body, and your body needs that. But when you're thinking of a bag of Oreos and how it has lard in it and you're having that high cholesterol, no, our bodies don't need that kind of cholesterol. There's a big difference. And again, I think it gets lost in the mixed message of what we're trying to do. I will also go out on a ledge here and speak to the pharma companies have changed the goalpost for what is high cholesterol. If you look at the studies that have been done, what high cholesterol was 20 years ago, 10 years, even 5 years ago, they continue to drop that number so they can prescribe statins to people who don't even need the statins. And I can say that because I was one of those people. And it's not, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to tell you what to do or how to do it. I'm just telling you what didn't work for me and the research that I've done to back this up. So, again, cholesterol, good, not bad. Processed foods, bad. But I think we know that now on a surface level, right? We have places like Italy and the UK who are banning red dye number 40. Italy just came out with saying they're not going to allow any fake meat to be processed in their country because they're supporting their agriculture and farmers, which is amazing. And I wish we would do something like that here. If you look at the back of a label of a burger that's plant-based, it has like 93 or 94 ingredients to make this one fake burger. And then you have a grass finished, grass fed hamburger and it has one ingredient. Tell me which one is better to put in your body. I'm going to go with the less processed, less chemicals. That's just me. Again, I respect and understand why vegans eat the way that they do. I'm just saying from a nutrient point of view and the nutrients that my body needed, it didn't work for me. So at this point, there's so many things that I'd like to get into as far as the diet is related. There's so many things I want to get into as far as exercise. We have a lot of misinformation out there, and a lot of it is hard to break away from. A lot of it is, I mean, we've been told so many years, fat is bad, cholesterol is bad, salt is bad. These things are actually not bad if you're getting them in raw nutrients. Our bodies crave salt, they need salt, but if you're getting it from fries at McDonald's, yeah, that's probably not the best way to get the salt. The fat, the good fat, our body needs that as well. Our brains also need the fat. It's all that makeup of how our bodies, work in harmony with all of that. And when we go on low fat or no fat diets, we're depriving our bodies. And again, it's the wrong kind of fat. Do you want to be sitting down eating a Big Mac, cheeseburger, from McDonald's, Oreos, whatever? Those things are not the best way to get the good fats. But if you want to eat raw butter, raw ghee, beef tallow, and cook with these things, if you want to have a good fat, avocados, all of those things are so nutrient dense and so good for you. We've also recently switched to raw milk. There's a whole list of propaganda out there on raw milk being terrible for you. It's not pasteurized. It has all of these chemicals or bacteria in it. I believe that raw milk is a superfood. And like anything, I guess it's a risk that you take to ingest it. And again, not telling any of you to go out there and do it and then tell me how sick you got because of it. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm just telling you, for me and my family, it has been a really, really good nutrient for us. And I've seen the difference. I've seen the difference. It has the good fat, it has the good cholesterol, and it is good for us. I recently just had my labs done, and my cholesterol actually, and I'm on no cholesterol medication, the cholesterol was really, really good. And that is with me eating all the fat and all the red meat and the things that I'm doing. I'm trying to build lean muscle. Let me tell you, that's a hard thing to do. And it's done very slowly. But again, I needed these nutrients to break it down in my body to even begin to build that muscle. I had no energy when I was doing the Ornish diet, zero, none. And everybody was like, oh, you're still recovering from your heart attack. Oh, it'll be okay. I couldn't even walk up a small hill without being completely winded, without being completely out of breath. And I kept thinking inside, what is wrong with me? Yes, I understand I had a heart attack, but it just didn't feel normal. And for me, it wasn't. Those things did not benefit me. I'm also a big believer on the circadian rhythm and the things that your body does in tune with light. There's a lot of good information and tidbits out there. One of them says, don't look at the blue screen right as you wake up. Don't look at your phone if you can help it right as you wake up. If you do have to look at your phone, change it to a red screen, because the first things that your eyes should be seeing when you wake up is natural sunlight. Early in the morning, there's no UVA or UVB rays that are there. It's just the sunlight, and our bodies sync with that sunlight. So if you can, commit to even 3 minutes, 5 minutes to sit out and just be in that early morning sunlight, I promise you that's going to change your hormones. That's going to change the way you sleep. There's going to be all sorts of good things that happen because of it. I also do cold therapy. I think that is really good. It helps drain the lymphatic organs, or not organs, but you know what I'm trying to say. And the things that you can look forward to about, your skin and just the coldness of it. I have not gone to saunas yet, but that's something I want to try on top of red light therapy, which I've heard a ton of things about red light therapy that's really good for us. So I'm hoping to incorporate all these things. I would love to hear what tips and tricks and things that you guys do for your self-care and what you're working on. And a lot of this stuff you may disagree with me on, and that's okay. I'm strictly speaking from a point of what worked for me. So, to sum it all up, that's kind of where the diet journey has, or the health journey has led. The last part of this podcast, but a very important part of this podcast, is getting families involved with situational awareness and being family prepared. And it's so much deeper, and I really want to get into this. I have some people coming on to talk about this, but everyone in the family should have a role and play a part on how to keep everybody safe, how to, sense a threat, what to look for. And I believe that as families with younger kids, you can do it. With older kids, you can do it. Couples can do it. It's something that we can really work on. I have somebody coming on to speak about that. She's absolutely amazing. She's done a lot of study on kids who go abroad. That's been her big platform, and I'm really excited to talk to her. Full disclosure, she is my cousin, but she still has a lot of great information. And like I said, she's written a book on it, and she's just got so much information to share on being safe and how we can be safe with our families, and kind of tie that into homeschooling and the places we go with our homeschooling community and the things that we do and what to look for. And if all of us are looking out for each other, if all of us are becoming aware, if all of us can sense the threat, wow, what amazing things we might be able to do with that. So I'm really excited about that. I'm so excited to have you guys a part of this podcast. I want you to tell me, like I said, the things you're going through, what you might agree or disagree with me on. I want to hear the things you're doing for your wellness journey. I want to get into it with everyone. I want to make this podcast just simply fantastic and really help those who need the help, support those who need the support, and get a really good feedback going. So again, email everythingsmessy@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram, same things, everything's messy. And I'll be working on some other things for you to get in touch with me with. But I hope you can send me your emails, like, follow, rate the show. And I hope we can just have just a great, great community of Everything's Messy. Thank you so much for listening. And episode 2 will come out a week from today. All my episodes will drop on Wednesdays. And I'm going to try and do some follow-up maybe on Fridays. Maybe we can do a Q&A, a live Q&A. That would be something that I really want to put out there. For now, though, every Wednesdays they will drop. And again, rate, like the show, tell me what you think, send me an email. And thank you so much for listening.